I want to welcome you so much to our It's So Much More Health Masterclass. And I want to, first of all, thank you so much for coming tonight and for spending and dedicating this 30 minutes of your time to learn more, right? To learn more about your physical health, about your emotional health, your mental health, and really to put it all together so that you can continue your personal journey towards optimal health. And so tonight we're going to be talking about hormones and stress. We're going to actually just dive right into all the goods tonight. So first, I'm going to share my screen. Perfect. So we are talking about stress and hormone health. And this is the Women's Hormones series. And towards the end, I'll tell you about an opportunity where you're going to get to learn a lot more about women's health and women's issues. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about hormone imbalance and how hormone imbalance can trigger stress. So if you have been feeling stressed and can't figure out why, the question to really ask yourself is, could it actually be your hormones being imbalanced? So I want to invite you to take a notebook, a pen, anywhere where you can take some notes, just in case you find something useful that you want to look up or remember sometime throughout the night. So the question is, are you stressed? And could it be your hormones keeping you in a stressed state? So did you know that stress and anxiety have become increasingly common experience in our current world? Everybody is like telling, is saying that they have anxiety and stress. And it might be surprising, but studies have actually shown that almost 70% of adults in the US feel stressed or anxious on a daily basis. So it's normal for us to feel stress and anxious, from time to time, like if something happens, but it's not really normal for us to feel stressed and anxious all the time, right? And so when this is a regular occurrence, it could be an indicator of a deeper underlying issue. And so what's triggering your stress? Stress is generally any demand that is placed on the brain or on the body. For example, you can feel stressed when you have multiple competing demands at the same time. So if you have, 3 things that you need to get done, or if you have lots of deadlines that are approaching, that can make you feel stressed, right? For a temporary stress. You could feel stressed when you may be triggered by an event that makes you frustrated or nervous. And these could be like lifestyle events or different, type of things that we experience. Maybe it's an illness or an accident or anything like that. Those things can kind of stress us out as well. And if you feel stressed like all the time, like you wake up and you're just stressed and you're anxious, and then throughout your day, you're just feeling stressed and you're feeling anxious like all throughout the day. And if you feel this and there's not really necessarily anything to worry about or to be really anxious, like you don't have like an impending danger, it could be hormonal related, right? So sometimes we see this if like you're relatively calm some weeks and then you're just cripplingly stressed. You just cannot function at other times. And so if you have these kind of fluctuations, especially as women, if you have fluctuations throughout the month, right? And when you get closer to your menstruation cycle, that you get even more and more and more anxiety and more stress, it's very, very possible that your hormones could be the reason for those fluctuations. Now, I will tell you, hormonal levels fluctuate constantly, and they're supposed to, right? Like certain hormones are supposed to be high in the morning. Certain hormones are supposed to be, they're supposed to get lower midday. They're supposed to go down at night. And other hormones are supposed to be high at night. It's the way our body, like we have this beautiful orchestra of, neurochemicals and hormones and endocrine signals and all these things that are happening in our body. And they're supposed to fluctuate constantly. And this natural fluctuation actually has a massive impact on the body's processes. including how susceptible it is to stress, because it's natural for us to have more stress at certain times of the day. And so amazingly, our body is actually designed to adapt to all of those things. And so it's really a beautiful symphony. We don't even understand it all, but there are some things. So the signs that you have hormonal imbalance can look like this. Maybe you have brain fog, like you're like maybe doing something and you're like, what is it I was doing again? Or, what is my name again? Or maybe you just burst into tears because, of the smallest things. Maybe you have you're struggling to make decisions. And when you do, they're not necessarily even the greatest decisions, right? Another thing could be a sign of hormonal imbalance is if we have crazy sugar cravings, right? And you even get maybe a little irritable or angry if you're not getting them, right? And you know what? I love a crumble cookie just as much as the rest of them, but I'm not going to run you over to get one, right? So if you're one of those that's like, get out of my way to get your sugar, you might have a hormonal imbalance, right? If you feel tired, throughout the day, you feel tired and your body is not really energetic, but then you're unable to fall asleep at night, that is definitely usually a sign of hormonal imbalance. If, as women, if you look in the mirror and you're not really feeling vibrant and alive and sexy, you're just kind of feeling frumpy and not feeling good. Maybe you're not in the mood for cuddling or physical affection from your partner, no matter when it is or how cute he is or any of your affection, right? And you can absolutely be in love with him, but you're just not feeling it. You might have a hormonal imbalance, right? Or if you feel like you've just lost your mind, maybe you're kind of going you're like, oh man, I'm going kind of crazy. I don't know what's going on. Everything is wrong. And everything is going wrong. This could be a sign of hormonal imbalance too. And so there's a big connection between the stress cycle and the hormonal cycle. And I want to take a minute right here, and I'm going to review my own testimonial, because I think it's really, it really plays a part into this piece. So many of you have heard, and I know we have some new people on here tonight. So when I was first introduced to Solle Naturals products, I actually started on them 4 years ago. Well, almost 4.5 years ago now. And prior to that, I was working a very stressful career. I was in the middle of building a business and we were doing incredible. We had grown leaps and bounds. We were in 8+ countries. We had 15,000 distributors. We were doing over 7 figures in product sales every single month. And business was really, really, really good. Except I was pretty much working about 20 hours a day and I was overworked and I was burnout and I had something going on in my body. My body had switched over into a hormonal stuck, right? And the stress and the hormones, which is out of control. And so I was really just looking, I had gained 115 pounds in just 15 months. My hair was falling out in clumps. I couldn't get out of bed. I was in so much pain. I would get up and I would start the day and I would be like, oh, I'm feeling pretty good today. I'm gonna have a good day. And about 2 or 3 hours later, I was like, nope, back to bed. And I would take my laptop and return to the bed. And the worst part about all that is that I was raising my children also, and they hardly ever got to see me. And the only time they would is they would come home from school and they would come and join me in the bedroom. And my daughter would literally sit next to me and my laptop while I was working, because it was essentially the only time that she really got to see me. And so I ended up leaving that company and really focusing on my health for a little while. And during that time, I was introduced to the Solle Naturals products. And whenever I started to incorporate them, I was already on all kinds of different herbs, Ayurvedic herbs and traditional Chinese medicine herbs, but they weren't really doing the thing. And so I was very reluctant. I didn't believe that this was actually going to work, but I was desperate, right? So I continued to use them. And sure enough, by day 3, day 4, my body was actually craving them. And as I continued to use them, I continued to feel better every single week. And now my hair grows by leaps and bounds. Matter of fact, I go and see my hairdresser more now than I ever have in my life. I have lost 116 pounds over the last, since I started. And I have a ton of energy, and I can actually be with my kids, and I can actually, I take my daughter to dance. I'm the academic mom, PTA mom at school, and I do all of the things. So the experience of being able to balance my stress and my hormonal cycle has really given me my life back. And honestly, it was all of it put together, right? It was the mindsets, and it was the less stress, and it was the coaching and the mentoring and all of the things that really benefited me. But the tools that I was given really absolutely changed my life and gave it back to me. And so I want to talk about how our hormones fluctuate, because as a woman, we have hormonal cycles, right? It's generally a 28-day cycle. Not every woman has a 28-day cycle, but generally it is. And this plays a very significant role in how we manage stress, because women's bodies are unique. And because our hormones continually fluctuate throughout the month, ignoring hormonal fluctuations can lead to things like acne and bloating and weight gain and PMS and really a whole host of problems, right? Along with, the stereotypical things that you hear, like mood swings and irritability and things like that. But it definitely contributes to our ability to be able to manage and be able to live life through stress. So the best way to fix these issues is to live your life in a way that honors your body's natural hormonal shifts. This means eating, exercising, and taking care of yourself in a way that aligns with whatever phase of life you are in. So one of the ways that our hormones can contribute to stress is whenever we have too much or too little of any particular hormones. And so you can have too little progesterone, and progesterone is responsible really for cognitive function and helping to synthesize in the synthesis of GABA. And GABA is a chemical that is produced in the brain that helps to relax and calm you. So when we have too little progesterone, this means we also have too little GABA, which will be produced. And then we can't naturally relax and keep ourselves calm. And so that's when stress really, really, really creeps in. And so we want to work to fix progesterone production problems, which will result in more progesterone production and more GABA production, which results in less stress, right? So this is a very direct connection to how your hormones are creating more stress. And so we also have the hormone of insulin, right? And so when you have insulin and blood sugar balance, this will definitely create more stress. So you can throw your insulin out of balance by eating too many sugary foods or processed carbs. And when this happens, your mood will also go out of whack. Now, this explains why when some people eat too many sugary foods or they go too long without eating, they become irritable and stressed out. So helping us to, manage our blood sugar throughout the day is really, really important to helping us to manage stress. So how do we fix these different types of hormonal contributors to stress? Well, the biggest one is we want to eat right? And this is one of our big pillars. We want to look at nutrition. We want to eat right. And the idea here is to stabilize our blood sugar levels. And this means, eating the right carbs at the right time. You want to eat protein-rich breakfast. You want to have normal blood sugar levels throughout the day, right? We want to eat fewer calories throughout the day and incorporate really, really healthy fats and complex carbs in our lunch and our dinner, right? So you want to make that generally your dinner as the lightest meal of the day so that we can sleep very well. Because if you have a really full belly and you have and your body's trying to digest and do all these things, it's harder for us to get good sleep. And so also we want to move, right? Movement is another huge pillar in any of our programs. And so when we are moving, though, we want to work out according to our cycles. And so you want to modify your workout routine to fit the unique phase of your life. So instead of, working out faster and harder all the time, you can pay attention to your body and match your routine to the hormonal level. So sometimes that might look like walking. Sometimes that might look like yoga, right? Listening to your body and doing the right activities will go a long way to alleviate the symptoms of stress and anxiety. And then a big one is coffee and caffeine, right? Because caffeine is your enemy when it comes to hormonal balance. It puts your body into a state of overdrive and your heart pumps faster. It leads to crazy highs and an inevitable crash. So if you are dealing with stress and anxiety issues, coffee really makes things worse. And so cutting out coffee especially, working on cutting out more caffeines, but coffee specifically is really one of the greatest things that you can do for your stress issues. And if coffee is something that you struggle with, get back with your mentor because they probably can help to guide you through a transition for that. Because I'm telling you, 2 weeks on Cinnamate and most anybody that I work with is off their coffee. And so boosting your body's progesterone production, this is one that we talked about directly. And so progesterone is the body's feel-good hormone. It plays a very important role in normal functioning of the brain, as well as mood-enhancing and antidepressant effects. This is why women with anxiety and irritability issues often notice that when the level of progesterone in their body is correctly balanced, these feelings will greatly be reduced or even just eliminated altogether. So I will tell you, just quite honestly, because of the way our bodies work, boosting progesterone can be tricky for many because progesterone production depends on your age and your ovulation cycle. So sometimes there's like things you can take out there that will just boost progesterone in general. But that's not always really the best way to go about things because it can kind of make your body out of whack. And so that's one of the reasons why I love the idea of incorporating tools such as adaptogens, because they are herbs that really help your body to find the natural balance in itself, right? And so that it can actually create the right things. And so tonight I've invited Greg Halliday, the founder and president of Solle Naturals, for our Soul Connection session to talk about one such tool, which is my go-to for hormonal balance, and that is Soul Excel.
Thank you, Erica. And so I'm going to try to hurry tonight. Tell me how many minutes do I have, Erica, to talk about this?
About 8. So we're
okay. Good. So if you don't mind, I'm going to motor mouth a little, and I apologize if I motor mouth too much. Tell me, chat in. What I'm going to do is take it from some slides, a really good training by Dr. Allison Caldwell Andrews. She's the chief scientific advisor of Solle. She did her postdoc at Yale. She's a clinical psychologist and an herbalist and a formulator. And she turned Solle onto what I would say is one of the great pearls, and let's say this, lost pearls of this hemisphere. So this actually comes from the Western Hemisphere. And I say this because it's a key component of Solle Excel. In fact, it's actually 3 thises. We call it our TriMaca blend because it's 3 different kinds of maca. And Solle Excel is a very complex formula. It is 100% natural, and it's a combination of concentrated plant extracts. And we divide the formula into 2 parts. Half of it is about clearing things out and clarifying, and the other half is about essentially hormone balance as it connects into your nervous system. And I'll explain why I say that. So 3 kinds of maca in this formula. That is very important. For years, it was just the yellow maca, the only maca you could find. This is what Dr. Allison discovered. Really, I say discovered, but brought to our attention. There are 3 different kinds, black, yellow, and red maca, because they all have many attributes in common, and they do exactly what Eric has been teaching us tonight. They're amazing balancers, not just of our glandular system, which is very complex, but also how it connects into our nervous system. So they all carry common attributes, but they also carry some uniquenesses, and we get much more, and we've seen a much greater nutritional vitality having 3 than we ever saw over all the years that I was familiar with the yellow maca prior to founding Soul Naturals. So what is this maca? Okay, it's a root. It kind of looks like a beet. It's a very large beet if you want to compare it to a beet, but it's not a beet. It grows in very harsh conditions in the Andes Mountains, in volcanic soil, takes 7 or 8 or 9 months to grow, grows just below the glacial ice cap. So we're talking 9,000 to 14,500 feet. That's the elevation, extreme weather, freezing, high winds, intense sunlight. So an environment of extremes, but it happens to have a very high frost tolerance and is loaded with nutrients. It actually was used and has been written about in ancient records that have been preserved for really more than 3,000 years. So this is really interesting. Even before, if you think of Peru, you might think of the Incas, who were the civilization that Spain came and really kind of, as they wandered and pillaged and did lots of things in throughout South America, the Incas were one of the civilizations that were overcome, but had known about maca. And it's now been 2,000 years that maca itself has been domesticated and is farmed as well. Back in its original times, it was sent as tribute to the Incan capitals in Cusco. There's lots of evidence of this. Their troops ate it for vitality and fortitude. In fact, there's record in 1549 that 18,000 pounds of maca was the tribute sent to the Spanish. That was the only thing sent. It was so valued. Lots of records, and in fact, they preferred it to gold. A lot of the conquistadors through there, as they became familiar with this nutrient. Why was it so valued? Okay, well, we'll tell you why. You have to fast forward to 1979. And you need to think, we all need to think, a woman by the name of Gloria Chacon. Gloria Chacon was a PhD who brought to light to the rest of the world this amazing maca, why it was important, and why did she do it? Because it was in danger of extinction. Only 70 acres were known to be cultivated in 1979 as we introduced Peru and England to modern medicine and all our advances. So what did she show? Why was this important? Well, she showed a lot, because by 1991, the FAO, which is part of the United Nations, recommended the Peruvians return to eating maca and other native Andean foods because of their significant nutritional profile that was combating problems that were prevalent in these peoples as they had moved away from these diets. Why is maca like this? Well, 10% of its proteins, about 10% is fibers. Good fats make up 2 or 3%. There are interesting carbs that make up about 60%, and the proteins themselves are a wide variety of amino acids, 18 amino acids to be exact. Why is this why is this such a big deal? Well, because maca also has all sorts of other components like potassium, very high levels of potassium, magnesium, calcium, phosphorus, iodine, silica, and zinc. These are some of the highlights of minerals that it contains. And beyond all of this, at least 60 additional important phytonutrients. And these phytonutrients are part of the story that I want to tell you about, just to kind of explain why Excel and this maca blend that is the core of the gland balancing, stress and hormone balancing components in Excel. Why is it so successful? Because this huge wide array is adaptogenic. In other words, it boosts performance on either side of imbalance, overactive and hyper-stressed, or underactive and depleted and almost non-functioning. It actually works on both sides. So what it ends up doing is balancing hormones. Rather than us trying to use hormone therapy to balance ourselves and figure out the amount that's lacking of one or the other, like Erica mentioned, of progesterone, the rich food in macas provides all the nutrients needed and the alkaloids needed. But then what they do, and here's what Dr. Chacon, Gloria Chacon, don't forget that name if you hadn't heard of it. Here's what she showed. She showed that sexual drive and fertility in both men and women normalizes and equalizes. Energy and vigor, a daily feeling of that normalizes and equalizes. Depression and anxiety go down. Bone mineral density increases. It really, in short, all the important body systems work toward balance. They move toward balance when maca is in the diet. Hence, its immense value for centuries, and it's used as tribute, et cetera, and its preference even to gold. Why does it do this? Well, what Dr. Chacon showed in her research, this is back in the 1960s, is that some of these alkaloids, some of the botanical nutrients in maca actually nourish and affect both the hypothalamus and the pituitary glands. And the hypothalamus, as we were able to learn from other study, is a regulator between the nervous system and your endocrine system, and affects the pituitary, therefore normalizing and equalizing levels. So from the thyroid to adrenals, to sex hormones, to many other hormones, your sleep, your pineal, they find all of these, and we sort of chuckle when we see the studies. Thanks to Dr. Chacon, the scientists will usually end with the phrase, "It isn't clear why, but after the use of maca, this regulated, this normalized, this increased," and it's not clear why, but they know it has something, and we know it has something to do with these very alkaloids. So I know that's a little walk down history. Maca is a pretty incredible, very nutritious. It is the core, and I will tell you, it's a large percentage of the mass of this wonderful powder that you're drinking. If you drink the yellow drink, the Solle Excel, getting inside the story of why it's so good is this special blend of macas, and I'll tell you our secret. We use 3 concentrated extracts along with the raw yellow powder. So actually are 4 different sources of the macas in our own balance that we put together at Solle. And now we're here, 8 years into it, with lots of wonderful, wonderful stories of exactly what Erica's been teaching. So I hope that's been useful to you. But maca is, to me, it's a pretty fascinating story, and there is a rich heritage. It's a mystery why it's so unknown here, really, in the United States. But one of the missions of Solle is that it not be, that every household has this information. This is pretty useful at any age. Teenage, people wonder, can I give it to my kids, teenagers? Yes and yes. This is not giving them hormones. This doesn't bump it up more. This actually equalizes and balances. So it really is appropriate for any age, really any and every age. So anyway, Eric, I think that might have been like 9 minutes. So back to you.
It was so good. Thank you so much for sharing all that. Yes, that was so good, and so much good information that I'm just super excited to share with a lot more people now. And I will tell you, Excel is one of my favorites. And sometimes I'll be way too many in for the day. Well, I don't know if there's too many, but I've had more than a couple for the day. And I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have another one. But then, it's kind of funny because I'm always like, but it's okay. My body will know what to do with this, and it will just balance out. So it's fine. And but I do love it. And I do notice that sometimes my body will crave it. And yeah. I'm like, oh, my body really wants an Excel.
I'm glad you listened to your body, Erica, because to me, that's what it is. When it wants it, we give it. Other times it doesn't want it. Okay. You don't have to give it.
Yeah. And I definitely feel that way. And like I said, it is definitely one of my favorites. I will I will tell everybody, my absolute favorite is actually Vital, and that wasn't true when I first started. I noticed some people asked about which herbs I was taking. Honestly, I take a Soul program, and I've taken several different versions of that program, throughout the years, and I've cycled, through them. But I do take a complete Soul program of drinks and capsules and oils and all of the things, because I think they're all wonderful. So speaking of Soul programs, and speaking of the information you've learned tonight and the tools in the Excel, I want to come back to the roadmap to optimal wellness, and really how we can take this information and we can use it to improve our health. And so no matter what we do, we know that we need to do 4 things. We need to balance our bodies, we need to lift our circulation, we need to lift our metabolism, we need to get everything going, we need to calm our nervous system, we need to calm, our bodies, we need to do all the things, and we need to clarify. And the beautiful thing about that roadmap is the exact 4 pillars of the Soul Naturals products. And we have programs. So you get with your mentor who invited you to come tonight, and there are programs that they have for you, and they can tell you about what they have. And we combined these incredible products with beautifully written programs and protocols with incredible mentors. And so I'm going to call that the people. So we have products, programs, and people. We combine that together to help you on your journey to optimal wellness. And so I'm going to invite you to get back after, if you've learned anything today, and this might be something that you struggle with, get back with the person who invited you to come take a look tonight and ask them about the program that they have, because they'll be able to answer any questions about that.
Oh, and you actually have a question here. If you're taking Excel, can you take the Maca capsules?
I'll get that one to Greg.
Oh, you absolutely can. Just listen to your body, because here's the thing, the capsules, if you take 3 capsules, that's a double portion of the amount of these macas, that whole blend that's in the drink. So if you're in a particular situation that Erica was describing, where it's like a bigger mountain, and I need to move, I can tell you America, one of my best friends, I don't know if you've met Marcella yet, she was taking 7 or 8, I'm not recommending this, okay? She just listens to her body, and she was dealing with an acute situation with her thyroid, like an autoimmune, 7 drinks a day. Because her body craved it. She felt so good. She's like, I need another. And she's like, I'm going to just drink it until I don't want one. And this was for a few weeks, but it totally pulled her out of that situation. This has been 6 years now. Sometime I'll have to let you tell her the detail. So with her, we didn't have the capsules. She could have done capsules and ramped up that amount. She may have still wanted the drink too, but the capsules, you can use them together, and some people do. It just depends on how big of a mountain you're trying to climb at the moment, right? We like you said, things change. It's like the tide. Sometimes tide's in, sometimes the tide's out. The hormones, we gotta use what's necessary, match the nutrition to the need, right? The amount of nutrition to the need.
And honestly, that's one of the things I love about Soul, is that I don't have to worry about getting too much. I can listen to my body and put good nutrition in my body. And I don't have to worry about, well, am I going to, will this become toxic or something? Am I going to take too much? And that's what I love about it, is that I can literally just, if I'm craving another Excel, or if I'm craving an extra Cinnamate or an extra Vital, which I do, I live in Texas, it's hot, and I frequently crave lots of Vitals. And I just take them, and I don't have to worry about it. And that's what I love about it. We can mix all the things, the capsules and the drinks, and you guys have taken such amazing care into making sure that everything is good for us, and we don't have to worry about all that stuff.
When Greg was talking about the way the maca survives on top, on all those harsh circumstances, I thought that's what we're going to get from these adaptogens. We're going to get the ability to adapt, just like maca adapts to survive. And so I love macas for that.
And so I want to take a moment to thank you for coming today and spending a few minutes with us. I hope that you've gotten some great information. And don't forget, keep sharing and keep inviting. We're going to be back here next Tuesday as well. Thank you. Bye-bye.